Snow doesn't care about plans. It doesn't respect supply schedules, rank or bravado. In World War II, snow shut roads, froze engines and buried armies alive. And in the middle of that white chaos, one farm-raised soldier looked at a standard GMC truck and, well, just refused to accept defeat. What followed wasn't factory engineering. It was grit, grease and hard-earned rural know-how. And it worked. This is the story of how a farm boy modified a GMC truck to beat the blizzard when modern warfare said it couldn't be done. By the time winter hit hard in World War II, everyone learned the same lesson fast. Tanks bogged down, supply trucks vanished into drifts, fuel turned thick, rubber cracked. Men froze before they ever saw the enemy. The GMC truck was reliable, powerful and everywhere. But it was built for roads, not oceans of snow. Convoys stalled, supplies stopped, and when supplies stop, armies don't move. That's when field improvisation stopped being optional. It became survival. A farm mindset dropped into a war zone. The man behind this modification didn't come from an engineering school. He came from fields, barns and broken machinery that had to be fixed before morning or crops were lost. Farm life teaches one thing brutally well. You don't wait for permission, you solve the problem with what you have. He looked at the GMC and didn't see a failed truck. He saw a base, strong frame, solid engine, torque for days. What it lacked was traction and flotation. Snow isn't just cold dirt. It's a moving surface, and farmers understand that better than most. Wheels concentrate weight. In deep snow, that's a death sentence. The GMC sank, spun, dug itself deeper. Chains helped, but only to a point. What the truck needed was surface area. Tracks spread weight. They float instead of sink. That's why tractors crawl where trucks fail. That's why tanks move when cars disappear. The idea wasn't new, but doing it in the field, under pressure, with limited tools, absolutely was. Turning farm logic into battlefield hardware. The modification wasn't pretty, it wasn't standardized, but it was brilliant. The rear wheels were removed and replaced with a tracked assembly adapted from available military and mechanical components. Suspension was reinforced using scavenged parts. Tension had to be just right. Too tight and it snapped. Too loose and it threw the track. Up front, steering had to change. Wheels alone couldn't bite into deep snow. So wide skis or modified wheels were added to glide instead of plough. The result wasn't fast, but it moved, and in a blizzard, moving at all meant victory. This wasn't theory. It was trial, error, frozen fingers and long nights, beating the blizzard through traction and balance. The real breakthrough wasn't speed, you know. It was consistency. The modified GMC could crawl through snow that stopped everything else. It didn't sink. It didn't spin. It didn't need constant digging out. Fuel consumption improved because the engine wasn't fighting itself. Crews stayed warmer because stops were fewer. Balance mattered. Weight distribution had to be adjusted, so the rear didn't dig in and the front didn't wander. Farmers understand balance instinctively. Too much weight in the wrong place and the whole system fails. That knowledge transferred perfectly to snow warfare. What the modification changed on the ground, once proven, the truck became invaluable. It hauled supplies when others couldn't. It evacuated wounded when roads vanished. It towed equipment out of drifts that swallowed standard vehicles whole. In extreme cold operations, reliability mattered more than speed or firepower. This GMC didn't look heroic. But it kept men alive. And in World War II, logistics won wars. Why this mattered more than official designs. Factories eventually produced specialized snow vehicles, but those took time. Time armies didn't have in the middle of winter campaigns. Field-modified vehicles filled the gap. This wasn't about replacing official engineering. It was about buying time. Every day supplies moved was another day the front held, and it proved something important. War isn't only won by generals or factories. It's won by problem solvers who refuse to accept conditions as final. The legacy of a farm-born solution. This modified GMC didn't become a mass-produced model, but the idea echoed forward. Post-war vehicle design paid far more attention to terrain adaptability. Track transport, articulated systems, and modular conversions became standard thinking. The lessons stuck. When environments change, equipment must change faster. And sometimes the smartest innovations don't come from blueprints. They come from dirt under fingernails. Why this story still matters today. Modern armies still fight nature as much as enemies. Snow, mud, sand and ice still destroy plans. The difference now is technology tries to predict everything. But World War II reminds us that adaptability beats prediction. This farm boy didn't wait for a manual update. He built the answer himself. And that mindset is timeless. Final thoughts from 0 Hour. This isn't just a story about a truck. It's a story about mindset under pressure. About using experience, not excuses. About understanding terrain, mechanics and reality better than any checklist ever could. If you value the overlooked stories of World War II, the human ingenuity that kept history moving when everything froze, then you're in the right place. Subscribe to 0 Hour World War II, share this story, and keep these lessons alive, because history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes.